Hey guys, welcome to the show. So I've got a very special guest on. She's a good friend of mine, and her name is Wing Yee Lo. Now, Wing Yee is she does loads of things as well as being a worship leader, a youth leader, and she's led and coordinated several youth conferences, regional youth conferences, for Christian young people. And currently her job title, and I nicked this from LinkedIn, so if it's not up to date, I apologize. She currently works at Vodafone Business as an IoT indirect channels partner manager. Is that correct?
That is correct. It sounds fancier than it is. They like to inflate the titles a bit, but yeah.
Well, we'll definitely find out a little bit more about that. So me and we've known each other a while. I can't remember when we met, but it's been a few years for sure.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Conference. But yeah, it would have been definitely the conference. And what's really inspiring me about Wing Yee is her attitude and the way that she approaches leadership. Like she's held quite influential positions in church ministry, and when she does it in such a way where she models servanthood, where it's not your typical leader in the way she acts. It's done with humility, and she comes across as very approachable, and she's always there willing to learn, and I really love that about Wing Yee. So it's really good to have you on, Wing Yee. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Yes, today's been a good day, and yeah, I'm flattered by your intro. Yeah, no thanks. I think this year's been good, and hopefully my story will impact some people, even one person. Yeah, would be good.
Well, the one person is me, so it's, you've already got the one in the So when you let's dive straight in. It'll be really good, and this is actually new for me as well, to find out a little bit about your background. Like, what are the significant things that have happened in your life that have shaped you as a person?
Yeah, in thinking on top of my head, since you asked me this a couple of minutes ago, so I think there are a few things. I'd say my background involves my parents, who have given me a very stable and almost, to an extent, sheltered kind of growing up. So the years, my formative years, were very protected by my parents. They always gave me everything I wanted or needed, gave me the best kind of platform in life. They gave me music lessons, dance, ballet lessons, gave me private schooling, all these things that, they just wanted to set me up with the best kind of position that I could have in life. So I think that's what I'm really grateful for. They've also modeled an amazing relationship with each other. So their marriage has been super strong for how many years now? Over, I think, 30, about 30 years now, over 30 years. So the strength in their relationship has definitely been a massive foundation for me. So that's part of it. And then I think significant events that have really changed my life and kind of shaped me into who I am. So I'm a single child, so I don't have any siblings. And I know a lot of people say, usually single children are very selfish and self-centered and all the rest. And I'd say that was probably true for me for many years of my life. You don't really realize you are until you reflect back. Wow, that was very, I was very self-centered. And so it was all about me. The world kind of revolved around me in my head. But I think it's when I started to learn about who God was. So my mum took me to church since young, and I started learning about God. And I was fascinated about what these Bible stories actually meant. And then around 13, 14 years old, I went to a youth conference called yNEEC, which stands for England Easter Conference, and that's when I really felt the presence of God for the first time, and that's when I think I started opening my heart to God. So that was a major event that kind of made me realize that the world doesn't revolve around me, that there is something bigger in this world. And that was the start of a journey. That was the start of like really digging in, not just being fascinated about God, but really start a relationship with Jesus. So that was the start. And then, yeah, a few years down the line, another significant event would be something that kind of stirred up one of my greatest passions now, and something that I really want to pursue now. So in 2012, I went to my first missions event. So it's kind of like a outreach, what's called street preaching, and it was really, really new to me. But I thought, you know, what is the point of? I was quite existential at that point. In fact, I think I still am. You know, what is the point of life? You know, what's the meaning of life? Things really are. The Bible says everything is meaningless without God, and therefore everyone should know this. Everyone should know that there is, there is purpose in life, and without doing life in and with God, everything is meaningless. And so this missions conference, well, not conference, missions event, outreach event, really opened my eyes to what God really could do in terms of sharing the good news. And I think that's when that sparked that passion in me for evangelism, and seeing how God can use people like me, and any ordinary people, young and old, and from different nations all around the world, could use, anyone, to just share his good news and change people's lives subsequently. And so, that was, I would say, a major event that sparked in me that kind of passion. And then since then, it's just kind of been a journey. It's like a journey of, lesson learning what God has for me, learning that life really isn't just about me, that Jesus is the embodiment of selflessness, and that is what I want to kind of aspire to follow. So it's just exploring what life means with Jesus and how that looks, whether it is me walking with Jesus or other people walking with Jesus.
That's great. Thank you. I really want to unpack some of that, because I would never have known, seeing you, or kind of seeing you, the selfishness, the whole at one point in your life, the world revolved around Wing Yee type of mentality. Like, you don't exhibit any of that now. What kind of person were you like now, being able to look back?
Yeah, my memory's not the best. I've got a poor memory. If I try to recall, I think maybe it was just maybe it's like the Asian in me as well. Like I want everything to be the most efficient and effective. But for me, like I could only kind of see a situation and think, what's the best outcome that would be for me? And I just remember thinking that along those lines in any situation. And maybe that's because I never had to care for someone else. Maybe I didn't have to look after a sibling, or I didn't have to necessarily care for my parents. Friends, I liked caring for my friends, but that was more like my friends made me feel good, and that's a nice thing that we have going on. But so I never had to be selfless in that sense. And so I always tried to take advantage of the situation without realizing. So I look back and I realized, in every situation I would see, oh, that's the most advantageous kind of route for me, and why wouldn't I take it? I want the biggest piece of cake. I just remember thinking that a lot, and then realizing that, wow, when I met Jesus and who he was the epitome of really not looking at himself. And I think that's also probably what for me differentiated Christianity against other religions as well. Like, he is like this world, we are a selfish kind of nation or world, really. A lot of us just look out for ourselves, but Jesus being the crux of selflessness himself, yeah, really changed the game for me. Maybe because it spoke into my own life so deeply and kind of turned the lock on something that I guess you could even say had a hold on me in some sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, you're talking about like kind of real internal transformation there. Like it's like flicking a switch. And early on in your life, it was like you were living in this world, but you were just kind of doing the best that you could because you didn't know of another way of being. It was the way that you were brought up, or in your environment. And it was your own experience. What do you think when because you mentioned that you were protected, and you were thankful for that, and you were given everything that you wanted. What do you think you might have lost because of that, if anything?
In a sense, well, I was going to say maybe time. So if I had learned earlier about selflessness and like the value that brings, or if I had learned some hardship along the way. I know hardship builds people up massively. If I had more hardship, then perhaps I would be someone different. Perhaps I would be more streetwise. but in a sense, yeah, I am grateful for everything I've changed about my past.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm certain that God will use me as I am.
Yeah.
In other ways.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And because you're so, and you seem very conscious of that, and very aware of that upbringing, the difference between like kind of the before Jesus and then after Jesus thing. Does that affect the way that you handle your relationships now, like with your friends, and even how you lead in ministry and church and at work?
As in understanding the transformation in myself.
Yeah, or that maybe that you didn't go through the struggles or the hardships, and maybe that and other people did. I don't know if that plays a part in your thinking and how you.
So I would say, yeah, something that I think God has given me ever since I've come to know Him is understanding people and understanding where they come from. So, in a sense, it's a pro and a con. I think empathy is good because you'll always see someone in a positive light, and you'll always understand that they are going through their own story. But I think, yeah, the thing is that you don't understand exactly what they have been through. That's something that I'll never understand. But the bigger thing is just being with them and walking with them. I think having walked with a couple of people who've been through some really, really tough times, it is just about being with them and being present with them, even though you don't understand what they've been through. Yeah.
That is a really good point that you bring up there, Wing Yee, because I think there's a lot of people that maybe feel unqualified to get involved in something, even though they know that person is in need, because they think that they don't share the same experience. But that's not necessarily what empathy is, right?
Yeah, you'll never understand what that person has been through, whether it is exactly the same situation or how they have mentally handled it or emotionally handled it. It will always be different, and it will never be a one, this is how to deal with it, this is the one way to deal with it. So oftentimes it is making them know that you love them and that you respect them as well. That love and that respect, kind of trust kind of relationship is what most people need, rather than a solution as such.
Right. Yes. The dreaded solution.
Yeah. Many people try to find a solution, and there never is one solution. So.
And I've fallen foul of that myself, just because of my kind of let's fix this, right?
Yeah.
much to the frustration of loved ones around me. Won't name names. Uh, uh, but yeah, it's that acknowledgement, right? And it's just saying, hey, you're going through what you're going through, and I'm there as you go through it.
Yeah, that speaks more powerfully in that. Yeah, that there is that power in that friendship that often gets people through, rather than I'll fix this for you. Yeah, for sure.
That's great. And so you mentioned going to yNEEC at the age of 13, 14, and that was the kind of like pivotal moment that changed the course of your life from that point onwards. And that is the very conference that you've been coordinating and leading, right? For the past few years.
Yeah. 2, 3. Yeah.
So how has that been as an experience for you?
It's just been an absolute joy. So I don't know how much you know about yNEEC, or have you been to NEC yourself? I don't know if you, or yNEEC yourself.
yNEEC, maybe I did, maybe about 10 years ago, something like that. But more recently, 2 years ago, I went to the yNEEC. So I wasn't part of the young people. I'm a bit too old for that one.
Yes. So yNEEC is amazing. It's just, I think if you ask anyone who has been or goes or leads or serves there, that is a true family, and it's something that is really close to a lot of people's hearts. Maybe because the nature of it is a family conference, and also just how the prayers of the leaders that have gone before us is very, you can see how it's impacted this whole conference. A lot of the leaders, a lot of the leadership team have gone through the conference themselves, have grown up in it. It's been an absolute joy kind of serving with your own brothers and sisters that you know very well. Some of my closest friends are people who I serve with at the conference, which is amazing honor. And you really see God, really seeing him work through the conference and have his own plan on how he's growing us, not just in numbers, and not just in saving people and bringing salvation, but growing people in discipleship as well, which is what I think is the season we're in. We're learning together. Personally as well, it's a lot of, again, for a lot of my life, I see God as my teacher. He's definitely someone who has taught me a lot, taught me my strengths and my weaknesses within yNEEC as a leader. I think I agree with you in the intro that I am not like that typical leader who, I don't know if you've done like color psychological tests where the red is like the leader, like the alpha leader, but I'm definitely not one of them. It's been interesting learning about myself as well as I take up a leadership position. It's been really good. God has been very, very faithful. It's been
good. So I want to ask a question about leadership, but actually just for context and for people to understand who've never been. What is yNEEC? What is it? What is its purpose?
It stands for, as I said before, North England Easter Conference, and it's run by for young people. Yes, so it's part of a larger organization called yNEEC, and it's a family conference, but this is the youth part, so it's 11 to 18-year-olds who attend it, and there's normally about between 40 and 80 young people every year, depending on the year, and the leadership team is around 30-ish. And the aim of it is to ultimately bring young people towards God by helping them explore who Jesus is. So it's a conference that has a series of talks. So there's a speaker who will go through some talks that align with our theme for the year, and the theme changes each year according to what we think it should be for the young people. There's talks, there's games. So the aim is, as I said, bring people towards God, but also like to build up that community within our network of churches. So that's been really good for the young people to connect with one another, to grow up. As I said before, a lot of my close friends are people who I grew up in the conference with. So that's been an amazing network to build. And you see the value in community and really building a really strong community in that. So yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell.
It's amazing. And as you were just saying that, I don't know how I completely forgot this, was that I was the keynote speaker for yNEEC.
Yeah, yeah.
I just completely, I was like, oh, I feel so bad. I can, but you and it was another chap, Will, who was the coordinator for that conference. That might have been his last year. I'm not sure.
In
Um,
a couple more years, but yes, yeah, I do remember now as
uh,
well.
and that was an amazing time. And just a little bit, and I don't want to take away from this focus on you, is that that was a difficult one for me because it was my grandma's funeral at the same time as a conference, and I had to make this decision because I have a big family, and being the only son, like, there's quite a strong tradition where it's like there's a male representative who goes, and my dad's not here anymore. And so it wasn't imposed pressure, but I kind of felt like this responsibility to attend, but I decided not to. And I shared that in one of the talks on the conference days.
Yeah, yeah, I do remember that.
And afterwards, just there was this young person who just came up and just asked to pray for me because for my family and all of that. And it's like, that's amazing. And that,
wow.
and shared, that's the reason why I decided to go to the conference, because if I could impact at least one life, and all were impacted that evening, it made it worth it. And so, yeah, I remember it's a fantastic privilege to be speaking at that conference.
That's incredible. Yeah.
So coming back to your role then, when you in leadership, you mentioned you're not the kind of the dominant, the authoritarian type of leader. How, and it's in your learning as well, how have you developed your own leadership style, to influence in a way, and to bring people together, to get them to work out of their strength zone, to get them to work as a team? Yes. How do you do it?
Yes. So I guess my foundations as a leader in the church would be in a worship capacity. So leading a worship team first during university. And I remember going to a conference by Worship Central, and something that stuck with me, and even to this day, was a simple line about teams, about leading teams, which was love the team over the task. And yeah, for us in this ministry, I think that is so true, that it is about the people first. It is loving the team over any task, not just in a worship capacity, not in a music capacity, but in a ministry capacity as well. And that's what resounds in me as a person as well. I think that's very much my nature, that I want to make sure that that person is the best they can be by being loved and by being the most confident version of themselves as well.
It's good. I'm going to ask you a tricky question here with that, is that what happens when a member or more of the team, maybe aren't fulfilling on the task? How do you navigate those type of potentially tricky conversations? When as a leader, I guess you have a responsibility to make sure that the conference is delivered to its best, but a member of the team isn't performing at their best.
Yeah. I think case by case it's very different, but I think I know what my first instinct would be if I had the chance would be probably to sit them down and see where they're at, see where their head's at, and see what we can do to help them first. Because I think a leader can only be a leader or perform or deliver on what they need to do when they are the most comfortable versions of themselves, and there's nothing kind of stopping them be in relationship with God themselves, especially in this capacity, since it's a faith conference. It's a conference that the aim is to bring young people to God, but also the leadership team closer to God as well. So yeah, I think that would be the priority. I'm not sure in a work setting how that would work. I think it would be a bit different, but I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, sure. And since you mentioned work, let's change direction and head. IoT Indirect Channels Partner Manager. Internet of
Mouthful.
Things, right? Internet of
Yeah,
Things.
you know.
I know it. It's very hazy. You tell me about that. Internet of Things. Everything's interconnected, and yeah, tell
Well,
us.
you've got it. So I'm very heavily non-technical. So don't ask me anything technical. But in a nutshell, it is things that are connected through the internet to make things work. So whether it is having internet in the car, so there'll be like a little SIM card, and that's an IoT SIM, and then you put it into a device, and then it connects to the internet, and it will provide a certain service for whatever it's in. So it's whether it be car, fridges, sensors, that kind of thing, alarms, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what's your role there?
Current role. So mine. I'm on a graduate scheme with Vodafone. So it's 3 rotations. So this is my second rotation, which is partner manager for IoT. So it's sales, selling to resellers who will resell on our IoT products, in a nutshell. Yeah.
And how are you enjoying that?
I am enjoying it very much. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I didn't think that I would like sales, but I have enjoyed it. There was a lot of learning again. So learning through the successes of, wow, I can really create relationships. I love like just working with people. So relationships are something that comes, I say more naturally than say like more of the technical side or like the analytical side. So I love working with people. So that bit was great. But also learning the frustrations of sales as well, like if things don't come through, if a deal doesn't go through, or if the processes are just very complicated, then you just learn the frustrations of being in a corporate job as well. But it's good fun learning.
It is good. Yeah, it's good. So you're on your second rotation and you're going through a graduate scheme. So it's like a fast track, giving you a broad experience of the business as a whole. Like, what would you say? What's the most challenging thing for you then, or the thing that's kind of helping you grow the most as you're in that type of environment?
Yeah. Good question. So I think I know that I'm here for a reason. I'm in this corporate job. So I did think quite heavily whether I should be in a corporate environment, or so before this, previously I worked in a Christian charity. So I was thinking, should I be in a Christian charity, or what should I do? And I think it was quite clear the first day that I stepped into Vodafone was that I should be here. I should learn how to be a Christian in the workplace, and I should learn how to be Christian in a corporate world, and know how to love people who don't know God.
And how is that going?
It's really challenging. Super challenging. Some really difficult days where either work's not going well, or I'm just, you really see the temptations. I'm really starting to empathize more with working people who are Christians, and I remember as a young person, I'd see them, a lot of working people get into materialism, or like putting their jobs first, and I see that, and I used to judge them, but now I really can't judge. I can really see and understand what they're going through. So I think the major challenges are not falling into worldly temptations, and secondly, really being bold as a Christian to start conversations with God in mind, and be used by God in the workplace, which I'm still kind of figuring out how to do best. But thankfully, I have a group of people at my current church, who also work in Vodafone, and it's really good to have them. They're major blessings who spur me on. Well, we can spur each other on to have a godly and wider perspective in the workplace. So,
yeah, that's great. That's awesome. And you seem very aware of that, and and you're aware of that challenge, and having that kind of front and center, it just gives you such a different focus, I assume, when you're entering the workplace on a daily and a weekly basis.
Yeah, it does.
It's great. Wing Yee, thank you so much for your time. I have one last question before you leave. How do you intend to increase your impact going forward?
Oh, how do I intend to increase my impact? I think it's one step at a time. I think for me it is listening to the Holy Spirit. As corny as it sounds, listening to the Holy Spirit one day at a time and seeing where that takes me. I'm thinking, if all Christians in this world listen to the Holy Spirit and act upon it, how different life would be. And if everyone acted upon, I don't know, whether it's prophecies that are given or words that God has given them, how different the world would be. So yeah, I think for me that is my challenge. It's not to impact huge crowds of people, but it's hopefully in my remit wherever I am. If I'm present with the people around me, I'm present with God. Yeah,
great things will happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Winnie, that's a great answer. And thank you so much. It's so apparent that, even just during our conversation, you're really living out your faith in such an amazing way, like faith in action all the time. And it's clear what your driving force is, and that's to bring other people to know Jesus. It's clear how much Jesus is involved in your life and how much you've let him in as well. So thank you for being an encouragement, and thank you for your time.
Having me. It's been fun.
Thank you. Bye for now, Wing Yee.
Bye.